When the girl's funeral happened in Kallakurichi, many channels went live for hours. The CCTV visuals minutes before her death is literally on every channel, most YouTube channels. Is this really responsible on the media's part? To discuss this, joining me today is Ramya Kannan. She is the Bureau Chief Tamil Nadu for The Hindu, a senior journalist who has been covering the state for many, many years. Ramya, your first thoughts on both social media and traditional media on how they've been covering this entire issue?
Right. Thanks, Danya, for inviting me. And I think this is a very important issue that needs to be highlighted. And thank you again for bringing that up. I think my personal opinion, and I have, like you said, I have covered health issues and development issues in Tamil Nadu for a very long while, and a great part of that has been focusing on the appropriate coverage of suicide, the right way to cover suicides. And I can tell you that if anything could go wrong, then we did everything wrong after the Kallakurichi incident, because the kind of parallel media trial which also came up, which was came up as an issue in an official route, was appalling, simply appalling. We had repetitive visuals of the girl at something that I like to say is, initially there was a issue raised whether she was sexually assaulted. So technically, we should not be revealing the identity of the victim. But nevertheless, all the channels, including YouTubers, went live with, it's like a blow by blow coverage, as if they had been in the spot and witnessed everything that had happened to the girl, which is impossible. None of us knew of this incident until three days later, or much later after she died. So I think we have done a great disservice, uh, not to just this student, but it's this copycat suicides is a real thing. And we have seen after Kallakurichi how there have been a spate of copycat suicides, similar modus operandi, because it is a real thing. And I think some caution on the part of media, independent media. I mean, I think by and large, the traditional media and some media houses like the News Minute have managed to stay off, have managed to give appropriate coverage for this suicide. It was a very traumatic experience. It was full of violence, which was completely unanticipated. There were many reasons for the violence, but the thing is that media could not have avoided covering this event. So, in suicide reporting, one of the few questions that is first asked is, do we need to report the suicide? Yes, whether it's suicide or murder or whatever it is, will have to be decided by the investigating agencies. But did we have to report this incident? There's no doubt about it. Yes. Did we do it sensitively? No. The answer is a resounding no. I think, though, that there are lessons from this for YouTubers, for social media, and for mainstream journalists as well.
Ramya, one thing I noticed is the postmortem report. The postmortem report was out there and it had some mention about injuries on her body. It was being dissected on every channel. You're someone who covered health. Isn't it dangerous for people to just take a postmortem report and then come to conclusions based on that?
Absolutely. Even in a postmortem report, they have um, it is the duty, even in a postmortem report, it is a duty of the forensic scientist to compare the injuries with the circumstantial evidence, with what happened with evidence from the scene of the crime, in order to make a final sort of judgment on what could have caused. Even there, they say this could have caused, unless there is a stab injury or something that is truly, or bullet injury, which has which undoubtedly caused the crime. There is a certain element of doubt, or a certain element of openness in a forensic report. So the way these channels have gone about it, doing like a live coverage, as if it was they were all forensic scientists interpreting the injuries and the reason for these injuries. I think that was also not only that, we don't have the expertise to do that. These were not, they didn't bring experts onto the channels. Most of these channels we're just reading parts of the the postmortem report and correlating it to what had happened by themselves. So there was no element of trained investigation or trained medical professionals in this.
What about the CCTV visuals, Ramya? I see a lot of channels playing it. Are we not cognizant of the fact that this can trigger other people, especially young people who could be watching these visuals on a loop?
Right. So, in the week after this Kallakurichi incident, that is, in the week that we heard of Kallakurichi, and the that week, there were at least three similar cases of of children falling off, particular modus operandi, falling off. At least three. In the weeks that follow, there were quite a few, and these are the incidents that come to light through the media. At least three cases of girls falling off. There is another case that I have heard of where other students managed to restrain the student who tried to climb off the parapet. But is this and this can be directly linked to the CCTV footage. This can be directly linked to media reports, intimate giving intimate details about how she fell, how what could have happened, speculation. It is okay to speculate if it leads to a particular purpose. In this investigation, I don't think there is a need for the media to have gone. What is the need for this independent social media trial of the case? I think we should all have the patience to wait it out. You carrying the CCTV footage is not widely available case or just randomly leaked to crime reporters. But I think organizations should not go for the it's not should not use it as clickbait. There is a great need to have a certain sense of self restraint, especially when dealing with cases of suicide.
But Ramya, as a journalist, or many journalists I speak to, or even YouTubers, people on social media, they say that they are driven by a sense of justice. They think that if they don't sensationalize this, trend hashtags, or put the visuals out, that these girls or this girl in particular will not get justice.
Now, see, look at what happened to the other, the copycat suicides have led in some cases to death, in some cases to maiming, and God knows in a couple of instances whether these girls who are in hospital, what about the justice to these people? Justice is achieved not necessarily by sensationalizing. Justice is achieved by being steadfast about a story, by going at it hammer and tongs with the available evidence, by reporting every aspect that is available as part of the investigation, by going out into the field, digging what you can, seeing whether there is a inconsistency, anomaly in the chronology of events that are being listed. There are so many things we could do, but the main thing we can do, even justice in this case, is to exercise some self restraint, but be steadfast. Go at it hammer and tongs, but exercise some self restraint. I'm sure, I mean, you can trend Kallakurichi on Twitter even without these visuals. It is possible to mobilize support. We know how political parties do it. It is even possible to do it for social causes, as we know. It has happened in the past. It is possible to do it without sensationalizing it at all. That is my considered view on the subject.
My last question, any thoughts on how responsibly we should be reporting on these issues? I mean, you did enumerate quite a few things, but any other thoughts?
Right. So, Danya, I think one of the important things we can do, as I have said already, is to stop using the visuals, which are triggering, no doubt, and they've been scientifically proven to be a trigger factor for others who are probably depressed or contemplating suicide, children in similar circumstances. The other thing we can do as responsible media persons is to provide a link to certain reliable um, hotlines, helplines, which help people with who have maybe mental health issues, or whether people who are triggered by such videos or such incidents itself. Even the mere reportage of this, even if we report it in a very sensible and responsible manner, might trigger some people. So it's essential to provide numbers, contacts, or email IDs in your stories, or if it is a video, as a ticker below, so that people who are in need of help will be able to access that service whenever it is necessary. Because suicide is a momentary thing, but the lead up to it is a long and lengthy process. And if we are able to help someone along the way, then I think we should be able to do it. It is part of our job as well, not just the reporting. The other thing is, of course, it is a print concept mostly, but also in the way we display these stories. I think some restraint, for instance, if it is, you don't use it on top of the page. In a print scenario, you don't use it right on top of the page. Even in digital, display matters a lot. You can drive content with display, as we know. So drive viewership with display. So using some, ensuring that story gets read, because it's important to tell these stories as well. There's a lot involved in that Kallakurichi incident that we need to be introspecting about. The education department and the social welfare department has to introspect about a number of things. So it is important to bring this out into the light. But the way we display it, the headlines we give, if there is a certain amount of restraint with all this, I think, it's just a few steps towards trying to address the kind of ripple effect that our reports might have on the public.
Such stories need to be reported. We have to speak up for justice, but the media has to show restraint, especially when it comes to visuals of suicide. That is what Ramya Kannan tells us. Thank you very much, Ramya, and thank you to everyone watching in. Do subscribe to the News Minutes YouTube and do keep watching our videos. Thank you.